Hello, this is Kevin King with Pinehurst Websites, and today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to clean up a photo for your website with Adobe Photoshop Elements using specifically the Magic Extractor tool. And I'm going to show you a couple of other things that I've showed in previous tutorials on quick cleanups and how to shoot a picture. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm on a PC and I'm going to go over to my folder here that has my photos, and this has my iCloud photos, which I have just synced my iCloud photos on my computer just by simply logging into the iCloud account and syncing your photos with your computer, and then they'll show up over for me under my favorites here. And they should also show up under your My Pictures folder. So I'm going to go down to this photo of a yellow purse, yellow and white flower purse right here, which I want to add to the website. And I'm just going to double click on that, and I have it set by default to open up in Adobe Photoshop. If you have it in Windows Picture Viewer or something like that, you will double click on it and then just right click on it and go open with. Once the file opens up, use the right click and open with from Windows Picture Viewer and choose Adobe Photoshop Elements. So just double click on the item and it automatically, I'm using, as you can see, Adobe Photoshop Elements 11. And right here I have my photo, and I'm going to show you the quick method of cleaning up. And now you can see I've shot this on a piece of white poster board, and I just pushed the white poster board up in the back, then sat the purse down, shot a picture with my iPhone. So this creates an infinity wall and a white background. I just shot it in natural daylight with no additional lighting. So I could have had a little brighter daylight out here and had a little less shadowing, and it would have made for a much easier cleanup. Now, it's always difficult when you're shooting items that are shiny like jewelry, or if you're shooting something that has white on it, on the border especially. So this would normally be a difficult cleanup if you're going to go through and try to do all of the edges. Let's just do the real quick. So what I do is select on the tabs from the top. I was on Expert and I select on Quick. There are several tools you can use to do a little cleanup. I'm going to use Exposure is the one I almost always use. Now there's predefined boxes where you can see what it looks like, and as you see, as I hit those boxes, it moves this right here to give me a preview. So if I just drag it over to the right, that's the quick cleanup that I use on a lot of my items. And the better my picture in the beginning, the better chance is that's all I would have to do, and then just crop this picture very tightly. So it's not quite good enough that I can just go on that. Now once I select back in Expert, my exposure setting is saved. So the other quick method is if you have a really good contrasting item against a white background with very contrasting edges, you can use the bucket and have it selected on white, and it does a really good cutout. This one doesn't, because it doesn't have a very good contrast on the edges. So I'm just going to go either revert, or I can just undo that paint bucket. Revert will take me back to the very beginning. So I just use the edit from the menu tool for that to go to undo my last action. So let's go ahead and use the tool that we have come to find out about. And if we go to the menu bar up here, you'll see the image, and that's what we want to use right here. So we're going to go to the image, and at the very bottom of image you'll see Magic Extractor. So on Magic Extractor, by default it chooses the foreground, and that's the amount that you want to keep. I'm going to do these little closures up here, and I'm just going to I want to get those really good first. So I'm just going to use hit Control plus, and that really makes it bigger for me. I'm going to hit Control plus again, make it even bigger, and it will come up on the center that I have selected. So I'm going to go Control minus to bring it back down in size, and let's go ahead and let's just do a little fine tuning, because these shiny edges tend to blend into the background. So I'm just going to get as much of the shiny edge part as I can so I have a good selection. And that's really, this particular item doesn't have a lot of corners on it, so it's a pretty good item because it's almost symmetrical, like a little bit like a square. So once I've gotten my shiny edges, got a pretty good job there, What I want to do is I want to make this cursor bigger. I'm going to go over to brush size and increase my brush size to about, let's just say 78. So I have a nice big cursor here. And I'm just going to freehand drag it right around the edge of the product. And drag it down. And I want to get as close to the edge as I can because this is white. It really has a tough time. It's going to do great on the parts that are yellow, but the parts that are white, it really is good if I can get extremely close to the edge. And usually I'll just do a quick freehand here, and I'm going to show you how you can also, you don't have to be too careful on your edge. You see how I went over the edge on a couple places here. Really, I have a shaky hand when I'm doing this. Some people are probably better than I am. So over here, because I have a shaky hand, I'm going to erase the parts where I went over the edge. And I think up here I may have just gone a little, just maybe a tad bit over the edge here. And right here we definitely went over the edge. So I'm just going to erase that. And it's very simple that way. So that is the third tool down. Now this is the tool, the blue right here. When I left click and drag, that's how I make this selection, by left clicking my mouse and just dragging my mouse around. So a very quick selection here, and I get close to the parts that I want to remove here. And you've got shadows at the bottom, so that's going to be the hardest part. So I'm just going to zoom out using the Control minus so you can really see the whole thing. And I'm going to click Preview. Right underneath OK and Cancel, we've got Preview. I click OK when I'm done. So now that I'm previewing, it's going to, this is all basically, the black and white means that there's not going to be anything that shows up on this picture when you have black and white behind it. So if I wanted it to specifically be a white color, I can create another layer and put a white layer behind that. So if you look at my selection, it looks pretty good, except you see how this is shiny right here. So I've missed that area. Now I can add to the selection using this tool right here. It's the third tool down on the left hand side. So let's just click on the very top and see if it brings in, see, you can, I'm going to blow this up for you so you can see it. And you can see it's just brought in a little bit. So now here's a little trick you can use on this tool is I clicked and see how I just brought in the yellow part here so it matches over here. And this is what you do. Actually, let me do the Control plus so you can see it. Now, as you can see, I can't see that area right here. This is where I need to use this hand tool and drag it down. And now you can see this part right here that I wanted to show you, and see how this is light. I'm going to use I'm going to click, and this will draw a straight line over to select this. I'm going to hold down the shift button and I'm going to left click again, and it's made my selection include, and if you really look closely you can see the gold shiny top of this is coming up now. So that's how I see that, where I drag across, how that gold top just comes into view. And I just want to be close enough that I don't want to get the gray background, but I do want to get this shiny top to really set off my piece. Now, you don't have to be, you know, super on getting, see how I went over the top. Now I'm just going to show you the same tool, the removal tool, which removes from the selection, which is down here. And I'm going to use that little trick I showed you. And I'm hitting the selection, and I'm going to hit left click, and then I shift and I hit left click again, and that removes this little spot from the selection where it's got that gray in there. But really I didn't even need to do most of this because the Magic Extractor did a pretty good job. So let's just drag it around and check our edges real quick and make sure that everything came out pretty nicely. It all looks pretty good. If I want to just go over it with my Add to Selection tool and just make sure that this all looks pretty good. This part looks like it's got some black in there, probably some from the it's probably from the frame of the purse. So I'm going to drag that down, take a look at it, and it's just the frame of the purse, so we want that in there. This looks pretty good over here, pretty good here, and we just have a few little spots right here. You don't have to be this detailed to get a pretty good selection, but you can just freehand out and it draws a pretty nice line here. See how that just cleans that up. So it's a nice tool to really get a good selection. And look, you have a really nice selection right there. If we want, we can use the layer tool. If this is not selected over here, the layer tools are on the bottom. So I'm just going to show you, sometimes when you're on full screen you don't see it. The layer tool is on the bottom down here. You just go add a layer, and I'm going to select, see, I double click on that, click OK. And now I'm already on Paint Bucket, so I'm going to make this white, and that makes that layer white. So you see this layer is the one I just bucketed. I'm going to pull it down, and then I get a good picture of this right here. Now, in order for the Paint Bucket to work on this layer, I have to select this layer on the right over here. So I just want to Paint Bucket that one little spot. And if I want to use any other tools like the eraser, I could use the eraser, and I'm going to use that little trick where I hold down the shift and it makes a nice clean edge for me there, and erases in a straight line. So left click, hold down the shift, then left click again, and it basically does a straight line from one side to the other. So now if we just use the crop tool here, we've got ourselves a nice picture that we can put on our website. I'll just make that a little bigger for you so you can see it. Very nicely cut out. I could have done a little better on the top, but you're really not going to notice that once I get it on the website. I'm sometimes a little bit of a perfectionist, but I think that's a good thing, because the better your images look, the more chance you have of selling them on the web. So that's been a quick tutorial on how to do a cleanup using the Magic Extractor. Of course, this is a very difficult item, and sometimes using difficult items, it's nice to be able to just trace over those areas, and that's why the Magic Extractor is a very good tool to use. But that's a very good cleanup on an item, and as you can look at our website, which is tiramisu.com, that's TERAMASU.com, you'll see the items look very professionally done, and they're mostly all shot with an iPhone, and usually they're cleaned up on an iPad using PS Touch, or on a computer very quickly using Photoshop elements. So if you'd like to see more of these tutorials, you can check out pinehurstwebsites.com, and you'll see a lot of tutorials on how to put items on your website, how to SEO your items. And this is one other little tip for SEO. When I do File, Save As, I want to use, I'm just going to save this one to the desktop, but I want to save this as a JPEG to put on my website. I'm just going to call this Yellow Flower Clutch Purse. I've already got that name, but what this will do is when Google is crawling my web page, they are going to be able to read the name of the images, and this is a big thing in SEO people miss out on for search engine optimization, and that's how you come up in Google and Bing and all the search engines when you search for something on the internet. When they crawl your page, they actually read the names of the JPEG, and a lot of people just use photo 1 or maybe an item number, and they're losing out on valuable SEO, because if you have 30 purses on a particular page, Google can actually read 30 times. It will see in the description the color of the purse, what type of purse it is, clutch, and the pattern of the purse. So when somebody puts that in as a search, Google knows that you've got a lot of that on your website. And they also read the text on your page, but they read the name of the image as well. So, and that comes up in images when Google shows, under Google results, it shows images as well. And so that's a good tip for having your items being found on the web by the search engines, and most people miss out on that valuable SEO information. So that's the final tip, and I hope you've enjoyed this website, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. And you can check out more tutorials at my website, pinehurstwebsites.com. Again, I'm Kevin King, and thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this video, please share it, and you can also click on the detailed description at the bottom of this video while it's playing, and there will be a link to pinehurstwebsites.com. Thank you very much.